Is South Park, The Fractured Butthole, worth our time? We're about to find out. Welcome, everyone, to episode 200 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide, well, Tom, can buttholes be fractured?
I'm not sure, Chris, but I think we're going to find out today.
We will. We sure will. As we are talking about game developed by Ubisoft Studios San Francisco and in collaboration with Massive Entertainment and South Park Studios, South Park, The Fractured Butthole. And this game came out in October of 2017, multi-platform release, PS4, PC, Xbox One, and Switch.
I'm impressed.
I mean, Ubi, if there's one thing Ubi does well, it's a multi-platform release, generally. They know how to like bang things out. But what kind of game is this, Tom?
Don't we normally talk about size first?
Oh, you're right. But I did say that. I did not. I play this on the PC. This is what happens after 200 episodes, I guess. Things get all discombobulated. I did play this on the PC, 28.44 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you?
On the Series S, it is 25.6 gigabytes.
All right. That is not too bad.
No, there's a size savings on the Xbox on the console.
Look at that. Ubi sometimes does that pretty well, too.
Yeah.
And now let's talk about what kind of game this is.
Sure. I put turn-based RPG, and I put with QuickTime elements. Now, if you've ever played...
like Mario RPG.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it made me think of, is going all the way back to the 90s and timing your attacks, hitting the A button at the right time, and therefore getting a little bit of a boost.
Yeah. You
can go ahead and do nothing, and your attack will still work, but this allows you to kind of be a little bit more active with the combat.
Yeah. I'm surprised this game is not a third-person open-world adventure game, but you're right. It is a 2D turn-based RPG.
Yes.
And that is this is back when in 2017. It's been some time for Ubi to kind of like be like, wait a minute, we need to only make one kind of game. But let's talk about this game's game loop.
I wrote explore South Park, complete quests, and engage in turn-based combat to advance.
Okay. I wrote complete quests to gain popularity while you level up to complete more quests.
Yes, it is very much an RPG, if you haven't figured that out yet.
It sure is. And, well, let's get into what we liked about this RPG, Tom.
Yes. So I think the production quality of this game is really quite great, especially when you consider that it's from 2017, right?
Yeah.
But the title screen, the opening, it felt like the opening of like a movie, you know, like in the way that like an episode of a TV show feels a certain kind of way. But then if they adapt that into a film, like the animation's just that much better. It's just that much crisper. The presentation's just that much. There's just something extra to it.
Yeah.
And you definitely feel that here right as the game starts going.
Absolutely. I mean, look, this looked exactly like a South Park episode.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that they didn't go towards the, Nintendo 64 South Park 3D nonsense that they did. That was awful. But they just stuck to the roots of the game, and they're like, let's make a tried and true game. I mean, granted, this is coming off of the Stick of Truth, which did it, and then they were like, wait, that was actually pretty successful. Let's try doing this again. And we'll talk about this game. But it looks exactly like a South Park episode. It feels like a South Park episode with all the humor in this game. It is quite ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think not that South Park doesn't get away with a lot of stuff just airing on its regular, programming.
Yeah.
But there is a level of, because it's interactive, because they know who their audience is,
right?
They're not shy about just really going full in. Even just the title of this game is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
It's technically, there is nothing wrong with it. If you look at all the letters and the way that it's written out, there's nothing wrong with it there.
Yeah.
But the second it comes out of your mouth, you're like, oh, boy, okay, I probably shouldn't be saying this.
Yeah. Yeah, I regret saying it a couple times at the beginning, but here we are. Yeah, Trey Parker, Matt Stone are known to push the envelope, and they pushed this envelope right off a cliff, and that's what really happened here. So, look, the game is funny, and I think you and I actually put this both on our likes. I was like, wait, is there like because you go through a customization mode?
Yes,
you pick your like facial features, you pick your what your costume is and stuff like that. And I was like, wait, why can't I pick my skin color? And then the next screen over, it's like choose your difficulty, and your skin color is the difficulty. I was like, yeah, that had me dying. That really had me dying. I was like, okay, well done.
And while you're picking it, it says, this doesn't affect the combat, but it does affect everything else that you experience.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty darn funny.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And this game actually picks up, I guess, fairly close to the first game.
It's the next day.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's all about make believe, right? They're little kids. I forget what grade they're actually in, but they're just, this is their next thing that they want. They like that Cartman wants to do is go into the world of superheroes, as opposed to, the Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons high fantasy stuff. So and like he's just like, nah, we're done with this. We're scrapping this. Let's move on to the next thing. And it was like, okay, that was weird. And it's so weird. You play as a nameless character. You get named douchebag, and then you're just walking around. You're like again another character, a new, I guess, newish kid in the neighborhood, and you're just doing your thing here. So that was pretty interesting.
I like that it picks up from the first game, but you don't need to have played the first game. So, a lot of times when you play a sequel, it's very obvious that you're missing stuff.
Yeah.
But because of the way this game starts, which is to say, like, they're right in the middle of doing this fantasy game, and then Cartman's like, nah, we're done with this. We're doing superheroes now. And it's great because, like, if you had played the original game, there is that cachet of being like, oh yeah, we're right where we were.
Right.
But then, of course, because it's kids and it's funny, and I don't want to play this anymore. I'm playing this now. Like,
yeah.
And everything just like it, like all the kids are bummed because they're like, but I was liking this. Like I was getting into it.
Yeah.
There's tons of references just to the show as well, right? Like if you're a fan of South Park, there's Chimpokemon in the background. There's like there's the game sphere in your room. Like all this stuff is there, in the background, and you don't need to get the reference, but obviously there's a bonus there if you do.
I feel like most people that are going to play this game will be fans of the show, but
I feel like they must, almost like you must be.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I will say that while it's really silly and stupid and South Parky, it's very clear even from the first hour that there's a lot of game here as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it has mechanics. It's not just fart jokes. Now, there are a lot of fart jokes. Don't get me wrong.
You have a specific button on the controller to do a fart. So, yes.
Right. So it's there. But, if you want to play an RPG, it is also an RPG.
Yeah. And like you said, like it's a surprisingly, I'd say it's like a deep RPG. Like the combat is not just you selecting items from a menu. Like you said, there's kind of a QTE, a timing mechanic that allows you to kind of boost the particular ability that you're using. And there's a positioning that you can do, all that stuff. So
your placement on the battlefield matters. The powers that you have cooldowns and have costs.
Right.
Like it is an RPG. Like it's not just a goofy South Park game that's just loaded with humor.
Right.
I also liked that because it is, not quite Ubisoft open world.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of exploring and going into places and talking to characters and opening up doors and that sort of thing. And the game has this subtle little cue to let you know if something is interactable with, and that is that it has like gold on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the doorknob is gold, or the drawer has a gold door handle or something like that. So you know when you look quickly at the environment at one of these static scenes, what you can interact with and what is just background noise.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you can move pretty quickly through these scenes, and pick up the stuff you want to pick up and know, okay, there's no, this is a dead end, I need to go back, you know, that sort of thing.
Right. And the other thing that's great, again, kind of tying back to the South Park feel, they have the voices. Like Matt and Trey are doing the voices, and whoever else does the voices on South Park. I don't know if there's any others, but they're there. They're doing the voices, and it's like, okay, got that. And in terms of interacting with the world, you can also punch things. So that's what I was doing a couple of times when I'm like, because one of the mechanics, like I mentioned in the game loop, is Cartman is making you get. So there's basically there's a conflict between, I guess they're supposed to be the MCU, and they're talking about the DCU being more popular than them. So you have to manage the Instagram, like basically the Instagram of the MCU, and get as popular. So you have to get selfies with people. So that's one mechanic. And there's just a couple of times where I was like talking to people like, oh, I don't know if I should like take a picture with you. And they're like, I'd smack them. And they're like, okay, I'll take a picture with you. And it's like, it worked.
I had no idea that worked. I did it the old fashioned way, where I went and found the low hanging fruit, recruited all those people, and then went back. And then they were like, okay, now you have enough followers. I'll take a picture.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know if it happened. It didn't work all the time, but it was just like certain.
You could literally brute force it.
Yeah. You can kind of brute force it. So it was funny that you could do that. So that was great. And again, ties right into the theme of South Park. So this game, again, it's a fairly old game at this point, at the time of this recording. So it still looks great, still runs great. So kudos to them. Again,
anytime you pick an art style and just stick with it, like they've nailed this. It really does look like an episode.
Yeah.
Like if somebody walked in on you playing this and didn't know any better and didn't see the controller in your hand, they probably would think you're just watching an episode.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not a small child, because probably pretty cool.
Don't do that. Probably shouldn't have South Park on with a small child in the room regardless.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Are we ready to get into our dislikes then, Tom?
Yes. Let's talk about the things that weren't so great.
Yeah. Well, that humor cuts both ways for me, because some of it was pretty dang crude, especially if you go through Cartman's notebook. I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
That's something to behold. So please, I'm warning you, please do not play this game in front of your small children. That's all I ask. Because I did not. I'm making sure I did not play this in front of my kids, but it's not great. And then there's I guess there's a recurring theme or mini game with the toilet.
Yeah.
Which, although I was a little confused, because I was like, wait a minute, is that supposed to be poo? But like it was blue, light blue for me.
Yeah.
Did yours did the same thing?
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
I was like, what, does he have like some sort of like bowel issues or something? Like, it was very odd. But I was a little confused about how that worked. Like, okay, you get the number of stars that you're supposed to get, but then it's like, what do you get out of it? Is it just like eventually you get an achievement that unlocks something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you have the ability to replay. Like you can go back to the toilet and sit on there again.
Right.
And each of the toilets has a different difficulty depending on whose toilet it is. But it did feel very pointless.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's maybe that's the joke, and I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like the toilet mini game, maybe because I didn't quite understand it.
Yeah.
I didn't like, so the controls for that toilet mini game were a little wonky, and then you have to use like the sticks to move around the menus and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
And I didn't like that either. in like, like some of the menu systems and stuff like that. You're doing that like mousing around with the control stick
That's
thing.
Interesting. I'm trying to remember. You know what? And this is one of my notes. The investigation mechanic. I think that's where you had to like kind of mouse around the area.
Yeah.
That was I didn't get the point of that. Like when you first use it in Cartman's basement, I was like, okay, you hover over the thing, but you don't interact with it. So I was like, okay, is it just to spot it? But then like when I just walked over there, I don't know. It was a little weird. It was like, I guess they were trying to do something different. I don't know. I felt kind of flat for me. So
yeah, I think I was surprised that the controls weren't explained better, just in general. So kind of across the board, I think the combat was explained decently.
Yeah.
But like there was a lot I think it just kind of takes for granted, like, either you've played the first game and they explained it there, or just like they figure, you figure it out. But the game is kind of tough on you for such a like what you would think to be kind of a casual, game, right? Like if your target demographic is fans of a crude TV show, you'd think you'd be pretty maybe heavy-handed with your instructions, right?
Yeah.
To just make sure everybody's comfortable before feeding them to the wolves. Cartman's a jerk to you from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Like the game isn't nice to the player.
No.
Which I guess maybe is funny, because most games are nice to the player, right?
Yeah. Cartman, he is.
No, he is him himself for sure.
Yeah.
But I imagine if you were not a fan of South Park.
Right.
Imagine if this was your first experience into this.
Yeah.
I would imagine it being very off-putting.
Oh my gosh. A lot of pearls being clutched for sure.
Yeah.
I could see that. He's Cartman's a character. He's quite the character. I mean, and then like I guess like most of the other characters are kind of jerk-ish as well. Yeah. At least the ones I've interacted with, like what was it? I had done the quest with, was it Stan? Who was the kite guy?
It's Kyle.
I was Kyle. Okay. And he was like, oh, what the heck? Like he brought you over here. I told him to come. Like, so it was just like, you're like, okay, I guess. Thanks. I'm here to help. And I'm like, you're just being a jerk to me. So that was kind of unfortunate. But what else you got here,
Tom? I was hit with a lot of notices when I first started the game. And it seemed like maybe a bunch of free stuff. I mean, the game is, quite old at this point. So I think there was just kind of a lot of DLC that's kind of just given away at this point. But when you first start a game, and I said that before, the instructions aren't really all that great. Yeah. It felt like I was bombarded with all this stuff and then I had no access to it. It's like, you unlocked all these costumes. And I'm like, okay, but like, how do I put them on? And like, that part of the game hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So again, like it's not friendly towards a new player.
Yeah.
If you're a more seasoned video game person, you just kind of brush that thing aside, maybe don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But like the idea of getting like 40 notifications and then trying to go like, oh, where did all that stuff go? Yeah. You might get under the impression that it was taken away or it was, an error or something.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a Capcom game where it was just like a million pop-ups at the beginning of the game. It's like, you've unlocked this. Like, okay, thank you. The other thing I was not a huge fan of, I know we talked about it a little bit, was the selfie mechanic. It just felt very much like Ubi was like, oh, let's tie something in. Like, let's do something like Ubi there. And I don't know. It just didn't like, it was just kind of like, all right, whatever. Like just kind of I felt like it was like shoehorned in there. Just like there was no real purpose other than to have like another checkbox or task list or whatever to complete there. But yeah. I don't know how you felt about it.
I wasn't a big fan of it. And it's a good kind of segue is like the game to me feels like a bit of a collectathon.
Yes.
There's a lot of, for me, especially knowing that the gold objects are things I can interact with.
Yeah.
I need to walk into every scene and interact with every gold object. Yeah. It's like, I got to open every refrigerator. I got to open every drawer. I got to go down, click this, click that.
Yeah.
And at least initially at the beginning of the game, you're picking up a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I was like, what am I going to, I mean, yeah, I guess eventually you'll find someone that you could trade this stuff with or craft items and stuff like that. I think the other thing that was a little off-putting. Well, there is a shift, right? They're from the Stick of Truth kind of gameplay or whatever themes to now this game, and I felt like it was like probably halfway through my playthrough where there was just, okay, now you get to pick your character, like what type of character you're going to play in this superhero theme, and then they gave you three options, like a speedster, a brawler, and a mage-like character. And but I was like, okay, they did all this kind of intro stuff. Now I can finally pick my character. But I get there's supposed to be some sort of ramp up to this switch over or whatever, but I don't know. Could they have done like a 5-minute cutscene to do this whole thing? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but then the we're switching games wouldn't hit quite as funny. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
it's setting up a punchline, basically.
Sure. Like you're still learning the mechanics of the game in the old style, like the old, high fantasy world, and then it still translates to the the superhero theme and in a different way, and then you had to create your own origin story and stuff like that, which was Cartman throws his little flair into that, so there's that.
Yeah.
But and since I play this on PC, unfortunately, I had to use Ubi Connect or Uplay or whatever they call it now. Ugh, it's just another launcher to launch things, and it's like, no thanks. But
launch your launcher.
Yeah. Anything else here, Tom, or should we get to our other thoughts?
No. I think we covered all of the things that made me feel poopy.
Okay. How long to beat says this game takes about 18 hours to complete. So sizable, but not like insurmountable.
Yeah, that would be like incredibly long for like an action game.
Yeah,
but quite reasonable for an RPG.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're not talking 100 hours of Baldur's Gate 3 or like some JRPG. So, I'm that seems reasonable enough. I will also point out, though, this game is not xCloud compatible. I did not see an option to be able to pick up my save from my PC and play it on my Xbox or on the cloud. So just keep that in mind. I mean, it's an older game, so I kind of get it. But
right. Yeah.
So
it's not baked in.
Yeah. What you got, Tom?
Okay. No big surprise here. It was written by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. So not only are they providing the voices for the characters, as you noted, but they did create the story of the game. I was curious, and I read that that race slider, while it doesn't affect combat, what it does affect is the money that you receive as rewards.
Oh my gosh.
And it also affects NPC dialogue towards your character.
So they're meaner?
Yes.
Oh, that explains it. Okay.
So they used a new engine for this game versus Stick of Truth. Okay. And that allowed the developers to use art assets from the show, which is pretty cool because it allowed them to make late changes to the game to better line up with the current content of the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, South Park is made on an incredibly tight production schedule.
Yeah. And
that's how they're able to make references to stuff that's feels like it's happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's because it did. Matt Stone and Trey Parker aren't able to predict the future, though I assume on some level they probably can.
Right. Yeah.
But they are able to make references to current events in a way that animation usually can't because of the way that they make their show.
Yeah.
And they've leveraged a measure of this in the creation of this game. And so the game, while now quite old, was contemporary with the season of the show that was airing at the time.
Got it.
Important to note about that is that the game was delayed, just like the original game, The Stick of Truth was delayed. But these delays were in response to feedback from Matt Stone and Trey Parker. So you have the creatives going, I think we could do better, and not wanting to ship, and Ubisoft respecting that decision and making adjustments and bringing the game to current and to a level where the creators were happy with it before it shipped, quite different from the early South Park games that we mentioned earlier, where they just were not good.
Yeah, I'm sure they were definitely gun shy, and they want to make sure that if they're going to put their name on this, like, it's going to be legit. And like, yeah, to your point about them working with tight deadlines, I'm sure they probably banged out the story in a weekend, and they were just like, here you go, make this into a game or whatever. And it's like they are truly impressive how quickly they're able to turn things around. So kudos to them on that. But now, Tom.
Yes.
We do need to find out, are we keeping this game on our respective hard drives, or are we refracturing sphincters or something here?
Why don't you go first, Chris?
All right. Well, look, I definitely enjoyed my time with this game. It's been a long time since I've actually watched a South Park episode, but this definitely gave me that nostalgia of an episode. And 18 hours, for an RPG, just doesn't seem like a huge investment. So, you know what? I think I'm actually going to keep it and see it through.
I think we may be in agreement, Chris. My hour went by really quickly for a turn-based RPG. Like, this is the kind of game that an hour could feel like 3 hours,
right?
But it doesn't at all. Like, it's funny, it's quick. I do think I would enjoy playing it through. I was concerned about the time commitment.
Yeah.
But now that I know that is only a measly 18 hours, it's probably shorter than a season of the show when you put it all together. I think I likewise will see this one through.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, that's good. We are in agreement finally. I don't know. I feel like it's been a minute since we've agreed on something. So
it only took 200 episodes.
Yeah, there you go. So those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Twitter or on Threads at TC1H1D. Shoot us an email at tc1h1d@outlook.com. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1h1d. And hey, you're watching this on YouTube, send us a comment down below. Maybe let us know, should we actually play the Stick of Truth? Or is it worthwhile to go through that, or just power through this and, enjoy our time here? Because, it's an episodic show anyway. So what does it matter? 1H1D is part of the QTB network. Check out anything and everything on gaming over there at quitthebill.com/network.
So that's it, Chris. 200 episodes. It's been great working with you. I want to say thank you to our fans and our listeners.
Yep, we appreciate everyone for sticking around for 200 episodes. And just kidding, we are going past 200. We are going to 201. And our dear, dear friend, the surprise me button, is going to help us figure out what we are playing next beyond 200. Here we go. All right. It's definitely random. Football Manager 2024 console.
American football or European?
It looks definitely European here.
Okay.
This is how we start 201, Tom. Football Manager 2024 console. So that is it for this episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And hey, appreciate everyone sticking around for all these 200 episodes with us. It's been quite the journey, and hope to continue for however long we can do this for.
200 more.
200 more. And that is it for this episode. So thank you so much, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.